They call him the ageless climber. This year, Richard turned 82. Last Saturday morning, he summited Half Dome in Yosemite with his 18-year-old grandson, 6 hours round trip. No one could believe their eyes. A silver-haired man, weathered hands, yet legs as spry as ever. "You know, kid," he said with a grin to the panting boy, "my muscles are still here because I never stopped using them." That story is inspiring and yet heartbreaking, because on that very day, 1,000 other older Americans were admitted to hospitals after falls, simply because their legs no longer obeyed them. Muscles quietly vanish after 60, and by 80, many lose half the muscle mass they once had. That loss doesn't just weaken them, it robs them of autonomy, independence, and sometimes their self-esteem. But there is a small group of seniors who defy that fate. They call them superagers. At 75, 80, even 90, they still climb stairs without a handrail, play weekly tennis, lift grandchildren, and live alone, fully free. So what is their secret? What allows them to keep a body like it's 40? The answer lies in 7 special habits, hailed by researchers at Harvard, the Mayo Clinic, and Tufts as the most powerful anti-aging regimen ever discovered. And the shocking truth, 93% of older adults have never heard of these habits. Will you be among the 7% who have? If you can still walk, you can rebuild your strength, and it all starts today. Did you know that from age 60 onward, you lose about 1% of your muscle mass each year, even if you don't feel it? And if you do nothing to stop it, by age 80, you may have silently lost half your muscle. That loss doesn't just weaken you, it turns everyday tasks into hazards, rising from a chair, maintaining balance, or showering alone. This condition is called sarcopenia, age-related muscle loss. It is painless, comes without warning, and yet it causes more than 300,000 older Americans to be hospitalized each year after falls. Worse still, most seniors are unaware they are losing muscle. They think, "I'm old, so weakness is normal." They accept using walkers. They rely on relatives to help them in and out of the tub. They gradually surrender their independence in silence. But here's the shocking part. 93% of older adults do not know they can reverse this muscle loss. A study published in the Journal of Physiology followed a group of men and women aged 70 to 90 with similar health profiles. The results were striking. Those who adopted certain daily habits preserved muscles, function, and appearance similar to people in their 40s and 50s, while others could not rise from a chair without using their hands. The difference is not better genes. It lies in daily habits. Professor Roger Fielding of Tufts University's Nutrition and Aging Research Center says, "Muscle loss is not unavoidable. It is the consequence of doing nothing. The seniors who maintain their strength are not lucky. They know how to eat correctly, move properly, and sustain simple science-backed strategies." The question is, which group will you join? You can let time whittle away each muscle fiber, or you can take back the wheel and rebuild step by step. It all begins by facing the fact. Muscle loss is a process you can control. And next, we will explore 7 scientific habits that help 80-year-olds retain the strength of 40-year-olds. Are you ready? What if there were a pill that could help an 80-year-old gain strength, sharpen memory, fortify bones, sleep more soundly, and live independently longer? The good news is that this pill does exist, and it's called progressive resistance training. Most older adults hear weightlifting and immediately say no. They worry about injury, joint pain, or think, "I'm too old to start." But that's a misconception. At the University of Alabama, a groundbreaking 12-week study showed that just 2 sessions per week allowed seniors to gain 3.3 pounds of muscle, improve memory, and enhance balance, without changing anything else in their routines. Consider Edith's story. At 78, she slipped in her bathroom and could barely stand without help. Her daughter suggested a gentle strength program designed for older adults. At first, Edith used a 1-pound water bottle while seated. 6 months later, she was lifting 10-pound weights and climbing 2 flights of stairs without stopping. So how does it work? The key is intensity over duration. 2 30-minute sessions using weights heavy enough that the final repetition feels nearly impossible is far more effective than hours of walking. Exercises should engage the whole body. Squats, sit to stand, rows, pushes, or assisted pull-ups at an appropriate level. These movements trigger a stronger hormonal response promoting balanced muscle growth. Always increase the challenge. Your body adapts quickly if you never progress. Superagers track their workouts and aim each week to add 1 or 2 more repetitions or a slightly heavier weight. Focus on the lowering phase, the eccentric contraction. Slowing down as you lower the weight forces muscles to work harder under control. Building strength while easing stress on the joints. Start slowly, but start right away. If you've never lifted before, consult a trainer or physical therapist. Even the frailest person can begin with just 1 minute a day. The harsh truth is this: if you don't use your muscles, you lose them. But the wonderful truth is, even at 70, 80, or beyond, you can regain what has been lost. Muscle doesn't care about your age. It only responds to how you treat it. You can eat all the protein you want, exercise diligently, and take vitamins every day. But if your brain and muscles lose their connection, all that effort falls short. Here's a little-known truth. Muscle loss after 60 isn't just about the muscle itself. It's about a breakdown in the communication between your nerves and your muscles. Imagine your muscle as a light bulb. Your nerves are the switch. When the bridge between them, known as the neuromuscular junction, weakens, the muscle no longer receives its on signal. Without that signal, the muscle slowly loses function and atrophies, even if you're still fueling it with nutrition. Professor Scott Powers at the University of Michigan studied adults over 75 who still climbed stairs and played ping pong weekly. He discovered that they maintained their neuromuscular junctions at levels about 30% stronger than their peers. This preservation of nerve-to-muscle communication gave them better balance, quicker reflexes, and muscle function akin to younger individuals. So how did they do it? First, they chose activities requiring intricate coordination rather than repetitive gym machines. They practiced Tai Chi, danced, played tennis, and even ping pong. All activities that force the brain to calculate and orchestrate each movement, effectively reactivating those dormant connections. Second, they nourish their nervous system through targeted nutrition. Compounds like alpha-lipoic acid, acetyl L-carnitine, benfotiamine, a form of vitamin B1, and the Chinese herb huperzine A have been shown to support neurotransmitter health, especially acetylcholine, the chemical that triggers muscle contraction. Third, they mastered proper breathing techniques. Simple practices such as box breathing, inhale for 4 seconds, hold for 4, exhale for 4, hold for 4, stimulate the vagus nerve, which in turn enhances nerve signals traveling to muscles. Perhaps the most fascinating finding comes from a Columbia University study. Seniors who regularly engage their minds through chess, reading, or crossword puzzles preserve their neuromuscular function far better than those who didn't. Keeping those neural networks active is a direct path to healthy muscles. Remember, you aren't weak because you've run out of muscle. You're weak because your brain's call to your muscles isn't getting through as well as it once did. But you can reconnect step by step by training both body and mind. You can consume ample protein and exercise regularly, but if you lack these small keys, the door to muscle growth remains locked. Most dietary guidelines for older adults focus on 3 macronutrients: protein, fats, and carbohydrates. Yet superagers, those in their 80s who retain remarkable strength, pay special attention to the tiny micronutrients we often overlook. Why? Because these micronutrients act as messengers, transforming protein into muscle, turning movement into signals for repair and growth. Without them, the entire system derails. First is magnesium, the forgotten mineral. More than 70% of seniors are deficient, according to the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition, leading to muscle fatigue, tremors, and lost strength. A 2021 study found that older adults with adequate magnesium exhibited 30% greater grip strength and better mobility than those just mildly deficient. Magnesium underpins over 300 enzyme reactions, especially muscle contraction, nerve transmission, and cellular recovery. Superagers often choose highly absorbable forms like magnesium glycinate or threonate and complement them daily with dark leafy greens, almonds, pumpkin seeds, and dark chocolate. Next is creatine, not just for athletes. A McMaster University trial in Canada showed that seniors taking 3 to 5 grams of creatine per day significantly increased muscle mass, strength, and even cognitive function without altering their workout routines. Creatine fuels cellular energy production and promotes intracellular hydration, ideal conditions for muscle repair and growth. Third is active form vitamin B12, methylcobalamin. Aging reduces stomach acid production, impairing B12 absorption, and common medications like metformin or proton pump inhibitors silently deplete B12 reserves. Deficiency not only causes fatigue, but also compromises nerve function and muscle contraction. Rather than a generic multivitamin, superagers opt for methylcobalamin and monitor their B12 levels regularly to adjust dosage precisely. Finally, trace minerals such as zinc, selenium, and chromium support muscle building in ways calcium does not. A Tufts University study found that individuals with optimal levels of these micronutrients retain 22% more muscle mass over 5 years than those deficient. These minerals help regulate insulin, support protein metabolism, and protect muscle fibers from oxidative stress. They appear in foods like eggs, seafood, cashews, and organ meats, or in small supplemental doses tailored to blood test results. The secret to superagers isn't luck. It's the relentless fine-tuning of small details, each and every day, to uphold the foundation of strength. One thing many older adults don't realize is that muscle loss isn't just about aging. It's driven by chronic, low-grade inflammation within the body. The concept of inflammaging, persistent inflammation caused by aging, is a primary factor in muscle breakdown outpacing the body's ability to rebuild. Inflammation doesn't hurt at first. It seeps into your bloodstream and muscle tissue, muting the signals your body uses to build muscle. You may eat enough protein and exercise faithfully, but if your body is simmering with hidden inflammation, your muscles will still deteriorate. A landmark study at Tufts University found that seniors with high inflammation markers lost muscle mass 3 times faster than their peers with low inflammation, despite identical diets and workout routines. So what do superagers do to keep inflammation at bay? First, they prioritize deep, uninterrupted sleep each night. Insufficient or fragmented sleep raises inflammatory compounds such as interleukin-6 and TNF-alpha. Superagers typically go to bed before 10 p.m., eliminate all sources of blue light, and sleep in total darkness. Harvard research shows that even a single night of restorative sleep can reduce inflammation by over 40%. Next, they nurture their gut health. Few people know that the gut is the origin of much chronic inflammation. When the microbiome loses balance, inflammatory molecules flood the bloodstream and affect the entire body. Superagers consume more than 30 different plant foods every week, vegetables, fruits, legumes, and nuts, and include fermented foods like yogurt, kefir, sauerkraut, and natto to restore their gut flora. A University of California study found that just 12 weeks of dietary variety plus probiotics cut C-reactive protein, a key inflammation marker, by 29%. They also choose their workouts wisely. Exercise that's too light fails to stimulate, while overly intense sessions can fuel inflammation. Superagers maintain moderate daily activity and reserve 1 to 2 vigorous workouts each week, always listening to their bodies and valuing consistency over sheer intensity. Finally, they incorporate natural anti-inflammatory foods every day. They get omega-3s from fatty fish or supplements, 2 to 3 grams daily, curcumin from turmeric, best absorbed with black pepper, and polyphenols from berries, green tea, and extra virgin olive oil. These nutrients not only quell inflammation, but also protect muscle from degeneration and improve insulin sensitivity, critical for delivering nutrients into muscle cells. Superagers regularly test their high-sensitivity C-reactive protein, HSCRP, levels to monitor inflammation. Whereas the average older adult may register 3 to 5 times higher CRP, superagers keep theirs below 1.0 milligrams per liter. Reducing inflammation isn't just about warding off disease, it's about preserving muscle, agility, and your freedom. You may be unaware that you are missing one of the most crucial vitamins for stable legs, vitamin D3. Harvard researchers even dub it the muscle vitamin. We've long associated vitamin D3 with bone health. However, recent studies reveal that muscles also possess vitamin D receptors, receptors that must be activated before the genes responsible for building muscle can switch on. In a trial published in JAMA Internal Medicine, older adults with optimal vitamin D3 levels were 25% stronger, had quicker reflexes, maintained better balance, and experienced significantly fewer falls. So why do so many remain deficient? After 65, your skin's ability to produce vitamin D3 from sunlight drops by up to 50%. Even with daily sun exposure, your body simply cannot synthesize enough. Sunscreen, hats, and thinning skin only worsen the decline. According to the CDC, over 80% of seniors are deficient in vitamin D3, and most don't know it. Deficiency does not hurt immediately, but it leaves you progressively weaker, slower, and more prone to falls each year. Superagers do it differently. They test their blood proactively. An optimal vitamin D3 level is above 40 nanograms per milliliter. Below 20 places you in a danger zone for both muscle and immune health. They also supplement correctly. Most older adults require 2 to 4,000 IU of vitamin D3 per day, far above the general guideline of 600 IU, and they pair it with vitamin K2. Without sufficient K2, calcium directed by D3 can end up in arteries rather than bones and muscles. Vitamin K2 guides calcium to the right destinations and prevents arterial calcification. It is found in natto, fermented soybeans, hard cheeses, egg yolks, and organ meats. Superagers take D3 and K2 together because these two nutrients work hand in hand. They also maintain natural sun exposure, about 15 to 20 minutes at midday, to support whatever synthesis remains. They do not wait for a fall to act, nor for weakness to set in before testing. They keep their vitamin D3 levels optimal as a safeguard of their independence. Because a body with sufficient vitamin D3 and K2 is not only stronger, but also freer. You may be eating what seems like enough protein, yet still struggle to build muscle. After 60, it's not just about how much, but also when you eat it. Many seniors have a light breakfast, a sparse lunch, and then pile all their protein into dinner: a piece of chicken, a glass of milk, a fillet of fish. They assume that covers their needs. Unfortunately, after age 60, Your body no longer works that way. This phenomenon is called anabolic resistance. Your muscles become less responsive to protein's muscle-building effects. When you were young, one serving of protein would spark robust muscle repair. But as you age, your ability to absorb and use protein declines. Without a steady supply throughout the day, muscles simply lack the raw materials for repair. A University of Texas study found that older adults who consume 25 to 30 grams of protein at each of 3 meals increased their muscle protein synthesis by 25% compared to those eating the same total amount but concentrated in 1 or 2 meals. Remarkably, even without exercise, simply redistributing protein intake led to a gain of 1.2 pounds of muscle over 12 weeks. Superagers embrace this strategy. They never let their muscles go hungry for protein for half the day. At breakfast, they augment more than just toast or fruit. They include eggs, Greek yogurt, cottage cheese, or a smoothie fortified with whey, pea, or collagen protein. For lunch, they enjoy salmon, chicken breasts, lentils, or a hearty egg and vegetable salad. Dinner remains lighter but still includes quality protein. Stir-fried tofu with greens, boiled eggs, chickpea soup, or a simple glass of milk. Each meal targets 25 to 30 grams of high-quality protein from both animal and plant sources. It need not be extravagant, only consistent. Crucially, superagers never skip breakfast, even when not particularly hungry. Their bodies after 60 need a constant reminder, I am still building. Protein sends that message. Without it, muscle growth halts, and once halted, muscle begins to atrophy. The question isn't simply, how much protein do you eat? But rather, are you nourishing your muscles evenly throughout the day? There is a fascinating paradox. The healthiest older adults are often those who deliberately impose manageable challenges upon themselves. They do not shy away from stress. Instead, they intentionally create good stress for their bodies, stress that fortifies resilience, triggers repair mechanisms, and combats aging. This phenomenon is known as hormesis, or beneficial stress. Professor Judith Campisi of the Buck Institute for Research on Aging explains, a small amount of stress, delivered at the right time and in the right way, can make the body stronger, smarter, and younger. So what kinds of stressors do superagers incorporate into their weekly routines? They begin with heat and cold exposure. Finnish research shows that individuals who use a sauna 4 to 7 times per week have a 40% lower risk of muscle loss compared with non-users. The heat activates heat shock proteins, which protect and repair muscle tissue. Conversely, ending a shower with 30 to 60 seconds of cold water invokes a survival response that burns brown fat, boosts growth hormone, and shields muscle from degeneration. Superagers don't need specialized equipment. A simple twist of the tap to cold at the end of their shower, or a brisk early morning walk in cool air suffices. Never extreme, just enough to stimulate. Next, they practice intermittent fasting, not fasting all day, but confining their meals to an 8 to 10 hour window, such as from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. The fasting interval allows the body to engage autophagy, clearing out cellular debris. The Salk Institute in California found that older adults who followed this pattern for 12 weeks improved mitochondrial function in their muscles by 10%, without any other changes. They also use brief isometric holds to challenge their muscles. Rather than hefting heavy weights, they perform static pushes and pulls, pressing against a wall, leaning into a chair, or engaging the muscles while standing still. Each hold lasts 5 to 10 seconds, repeated several times throughout the day. These short bursts of tension signal the body to preserve muscle rather than allow it to waste away, making isometrics especially valuable for those with joint issues or limited mobility. All of these hormetic practices share a common recipe: short duration, controlled intensity, and followed by recovery. They are never prolonged or excessive, yet sufficient to remind the body it still needs strength. Superagers understand that the body does not thrive in perpetual comfort. Left unchallenged, it will begin to retire, literally. But when awakened properly, it has the remarkable capacity to recover, whether you are 70, 80, or beyond. 7 habits, 7 doors opening onto a different tomorrow. No one expects you to adopt them all at once. No one insists you become a super ager by tomorrow. But if you could pick just one action to begin today, what might your life look like in 3 months, 6 months, or a year? Imagine waking one morning and rising from your bed without needing to grasp the rail. Picture a weekend afternoon when you walk into the supermarket alone, pushing your cart and selecting every item you love. Envision a short family outing where you climb each stair with the same confidence you had 30 years ago. This is not a fanciful dream. It is the natural outcome of habits chosen and repeated by those who dare to declare, "I'm not ready to give up." Age is not the enemy. Surrender is what steals your strength. You have the power to rebuild everything. Begin with a simple workout, a properly timed meal, a small supplement, or a calming, breathing exercise. You don't need to become young again. You only need to become the strongest version of yourself, right here, right now. Now it's time to choose. Of today's 7 habits, which one are you most eager to start? Leave your choice number in the comments. 1 for resistance training, 2 for neuromuscular connection, 3 for key micronutrients, 4 for inflammation control, 5 for vitamins D, 3 and K2, 6 for timely protein intake, or 7 for hormetic stress. We read every comment and can't wait to see which first step you choose. Your journey to freedom after 60 begins with you.